Hey guys, so this is going to be the start of something new I'm going to start doing in 2013. I'm going to start doing like rewind videos and TBR videos. And if you don't really know about like the booktube community, some people do these. I don't know if a lot of people call them like rewinds, but that's like what I've seen, so I don't know if that's what I'm going to call them or not. TBR stands for to be read. So basically, a lot of people do these as two separate videos. I'm going to combine them. Occasionally they may end up being blog posts, but I'm going to try and do videos every month. And I'm going to go through all of the books that I've read that month and say what star rating I gave them on Goodreads. Maybe mention some things about the books, but I'm not going to go into detail. And then I'm going to list the books that I'm planning on reading in that month and will almost definitely actually end up reading in that month for the TBR. So I ended up reading 7 books this month, and I did pretty well because I had the Goodreads challenge on Goodreads. I had to read 50 books for this year, and I was behind, and so I had to get caught up, and I did manage to get caught up. I still have to finish one book, and I'm going to mention that book in this, but I'm going to finish that tonight, and then I'll be done. I'm filming this on December 30th, by the way, so I still have the rest of today and tomorrow to finish this book, and so I'm going to meet the challenge. But that's why I have more books than I will probably have most of the time, because I was trying to get caught up on the challenge. The first book is a book that I actually started in November, but that I finished in December, and it's Repotting Harry Potter, Professor's Book-by-Book Guide for the Serious E-Reader by James W. Thomas, PhD. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I think it's a great book if you want to reread Harry Potter and you're really into Harry Potter and kind of like analyzing it, but like I said in my review, it's a very like informal book. It's really good at like studying Harry Potter in a really like informal kind of way, if that's something you're interested in. The next book I read this month was The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis. It is the 6th book in the Chronicles of Narnia series, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I read Rolling Revisited, Return Trips to Harry, Fantastic Beasts, Quidditch, and Beetle the Bard by James W. Thomas, PhD. This is the same author as the other Harry Potter book, and it's just like that one. The same thing kind of goes for this one. This one's shorter because it's things that he like realized after finishing the last one, but this has Beetle the Bard, Quidditch Through the Ages, and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in it as well, and the first one does not. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Moving Forward by Looking Back, Embracing First Century Practices in Youth Ministry by Craig Steiner. I think that might be how you say it. I did not review this one. I didn't actually finish this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and that obviously requires explanation because I didn't finish it. As you can tell by the like subtitle, it's about youth ministry. It's supposed to be for people like the teachers of youth ministry and the people who like run youth ministry, and giving them like ideas for their youth ministry. And I'm not entirely sure how I even wound up with this book. I think I got it when I got like a huge amount of books from, not a huge amount, but I think it was at a Christian bookstore that was like a I don't know what they're called, but they're like, it was at an outlet mall, I think, so they were all like really cheap books, and it was a Christian bookstore, and I think this just kind of got in the stack that I bought, and I didn't really pay close attention to what it was. That being said, I think it's a really good book for like what it's for. If you're like in youth ministry, I think this is like a really great book to check out, but obviously I'm not. I mean, I used to go to religious ed and everything, but so I didn't want to spend all the time reading it. Like I said, I was behind on the reading challenge, so I just went ahead and let this count towards it without actually finishing it. I skimmed everything, but I didn't actually read it. But it has like a lot of good ideas for youth ministry, but I'm not in charge of any youth ministry, so yeah. The next book I read this month was The Order of Harry Potter by Colin Manlove. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. That's the lowest rating of any of the books this month. It's actually the only one without a 4-star rating, I think. I didn't finish this book either, and it's for completely different reasons than the other one. So, I did not like this book. It's another Harry Potter book. The reason I have all these books about Harry Potter is because when the Casual Vacancy came out, they had some of them for free, and I got all of them. But, this one, I think, did a lot worse job than the other two that I was talking about. It just got really boring for me. I gave it 3 stars because I could see how other people would like it, but I didn't, and I wasn't able to get through it because I was just like fed up with it, kind of. It compared Harry Potter, I've talked about this in my review, so I shouldn't go into detail with this, but it compared Harry Potter to other book series a lot, and that was the main part of it, at least the parts that I read, and it didn't seem to be stopping. It was just like comparing Harry Potter to another book series that wasn't incredibly well known, I don't think, at least not to me, and so it did a lot of time explaining that book series, and it just was like constant comparisons, and there didn't really seem to be a point to it other than comparing it. Although I think there was supposed to be a point, but I just didn't like it. But I gave it 3 stars because I could see how other people might like it, but I didn't really like it. And then I read The Last Battle, the 7th and final book in the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I was really happy to get done with this because I wasn't sure I was going to finish this series this year, but I got 2 books done this month and did. I really liked this ending to the series. Well, I haven't gotten around to reviewing this yet, so I won't really like mention anything. I am going to do a review of this hopefully in the next few days. So I'm not going to really talk about it. I want to say stuff that's like spoilery, which I'll probably put in my review, but I really enjoyed the end of the series, both of these books. But I'm going to talk more about this one later. I've reviewed this one, but I haven't reviewed this one. The last book that I've read this month is Harry Potter Still Recruiting by Valerie Frankel. I'm not going to show you the cover because I'm still reading it, and so I don't want to lose my place by going to the cover of it. But it's another book on the Harry Potter fandom, as you can tell by the title, and it's different from the others though. It's not really looking at the books, it's looking at the fandom, and I'm still reading it, so I obviously haven't reviewed it yet. I'm going to finish it tonight, hopefully, almost definitely I'll get it done tonight, and then so it will be read this month, and I'm probably going to give it not even probably, I am going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. And I'm going to talk about this in the review, but it and Harriet History by Melissa Anelli, which is one of my favorite books ever, I think it's very different from that book, but those two books together I think would be perfect. If you're a huge Harry Potter fan and your family doesn't understand, those 2 books are perfect for explaining Harry Potter and the Harry Potter fandom, but I'm going to talk about that more in my review, so that one will be getting 4 out of 5 stars. And now on to my TBR. I'm going to include 6 books in this. I think I'm normally going to include 5, but one of these books I'm actually fairly far into, so I'm going to go ahead and include 6. And if you didn't realize by my rewind, I tend to read a print book and then a book on my Kindle, like back and forth. I've pretty much done that since I got my Kindle, so that's the order that this will go. The first book is When a Crocodile Eats the Sun by Peter Goodwin. I'm already this far in it. I only have this much left, but I'm reading it pretty slowly, so that's why I'm not going to get it done this month. That's why I didn't include it in the rewind. I was originally started reading this book for my history class, but then we didn't end up we were going to write a paper on it, and we didn't end up doing that. So I had already bought the book, and I was already like, I don't know, maybe this far into it at that point, and I decided I was just going to read the whole thing. I really like it, but I've been reading it slowly because I tend to read these kinds of books like that. It's memoir, and I tend to read those like slowly. So I've been reading it slowly alongside my other books, but I think at the start of this month I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off and get it done with. So, yeah, and then I'll review it, obviously. The first book I'll be starting in January is Starbright by Rachel Higginson. This is the first book in a series. I don't really know much about this. All I know is that the main character, and this is I just found this out like 5 minutes ago because I was looking at it. The main character is apparently a star that is sent to Earth, which is a really interesting concept. It's funny because there's stars that are people in Chronicles of Narnia, but it's an idea that I never really thought about. But for those of you who might know if you watch my book reviews or read them, Rachel Higginson wrote Reckless Magic and the whole Starcross series that I read this year, it's still technically this year, it'll be last year when you're seeing this, and I am obsessed with those books. I am so obsessed with those books. They were by far my favorite books I read last year, this year. I don't even know what to say. They were my favorite books that I read in 2012. I'm so obsessed with them. I'm in love with them. They're the best books I read in a long time, and I'm just obsessed with that series, and so I have to read this. I'm probably going to continue to read everything she writes ever. I'm sure it'll be just as good as those. I loved that series. I seriously can't talk about the Star-Crossed series enough. If you haven't read the Star-Crossed series by Rachel Higginson, you should check it out. So I'm definitely going to read this one, and hopefully it will be just as good. The next book is Believing in Narnia, A Kid's Guide to Unlocking Secret Symbols of Faith in C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia by Natalie, I cannot say her last name, Gillespie? I don't know if you can see it. So obviously I just finished reading the Chronicles of Narnia series. I'd had this for probably like a year now. I think I bought it at the same place I bought this one. But this is actually what set me into reading the Chronicles of Narnia in the first place, because I had this book. I've been wanting to read the Chronicles of Narnia for years now, probably since I was in middle school, and I kept starting, and I'd get through The Magician's Nephew, and I'd get to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I'd seen the movie, and I got bored with it because I'd already read the movie, and so I never got past that one. Because I read them, the set my dad has them in chronological order, not published order. That's why I started with The Magician's Nephew. But anyway, I had this book and I wanted to read it, but you kind of have to read the actual series before this makes sense. So that's what pushed me to finally get through that series. So now I'm going to read this. And it's a kid's guide, and I've been looking through it, and it does look like really simple. It's definitely geared towards kids, which is funny because I don't think most kids would pick up a guide to unlocking secret symbols. But I think it's definitely going to be interesting. Obviously it's like religious based because these whole books are religious based. A lot of people say that when they were kids and they read these they didn't pick up on the religious symbolism. And I guess it's because I read them for the first time when I was 19, but it was all incredibly obvious to me, like everything. So I'm not sure what exactly this book will point out that I didn't realize, because for the most part it seems obvious, but it should be interesting. The next book is Sound by Shelley Workinger, which is the third book in the Solid book series. I've read both of the first of these books. This one, Star-Crossed, which I was talking about earlier, is actually a book that it's self-published, and the author contacted me and wanted me to review it, and then I became obsessed. That's how I started reading this series as well. And the author actually contacted me and wanted me to review this one by the end of December, I think it was, and I told her it wasn't going to be able to, but that I was going to try and read it as soon as possible, and I am. I'm planning on reading it next month. I love this series. It's really, really well done. This and the Star-Crossed series are probably the first books that I read that were self-published that I absolutely loved, and I read a lot of self-published books, like, not a whole lot, but more than a lot of people probably do, because of those authors, basically, because I loved this series, and so I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's the last one, but I'm not entirely sure about that, but I'm incredibly excited for it. And then the next one is Faded Denim by Melody Carlson, and there's still a price sticker on here, sorry about that. I have no clue what this is about. I got this at an outlet mall, again, at like a cheap bookstore, and I got a bunch of them. Apparently that happened around this time. Like, I've had all these books stored, and I'm reading them now. But looking, it has a lot to do, apparently, according to the back, has a lot to do with like body image. Apparently the main character, Emily, has a lot of friends that she thinks are like perfect, and she's not. She's apparently chubby. It looks like she gets an eating disorder. I'm not entirely sure about that, but that's what it looks like from the back of the book, so that should be an interesting book. I think I've read one book by this author before that I liked, but I may be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure she wrote that book. So yeah, this should be interesting, and I think it might be a series, but I think it's the first in the series, but I'm not incredibly sure about that. Yeah, there are other books like this, like, I think they're supposed to be like Colors or something, but I don't think they're about different people. it's not like a continuous series, so I should understand what's going on. And then the next and last book in my TBR is Witch Hunt by Casey Blake. Again, this is the second in a series, and I was contacted, this is self-published, and I was contacted by the author to review the first one, and really enjoyed it. This one has different characters. It's like the second in the series, but they're not connected in any way. I think the only connection between the series is they're about witches, and they have like different games, kind of. I don't know if you'd call them games. In the first book, the one I read, it was three sisters who played a game to like enchant boys to do like what they wanted. That's a really bad explanation. I reviewed that book. I'll try and remember to link it down below the review so you can like understand it more. I'm not sure what exactly they're doing in this one. It's called Witch Hunt, so I guess that's kind of like a clue to what it is. But I really like the first book in this series, and even though this is different characters, I'm really looking forward to it. So those were the 6 books that I'm most definitely going to try and read this month. I should be able to get through them. Let's hope. If I do get through them, I may start reading more books, and they'll be in my rewind for January. But those are the 6 that I'm going to try my hardest to get through this month. And I will do another one of these at the end of January / beginning of February. And I will see you guys later.